When youngsters cross the journey in organizations like in the college days, we find that many of them come to us and discuss that they do face multiple kind of situations which they are not comfortable with, and there is no one to actually listen to them. So how do they actually handle those kind of scenarios? Whilst there can be many such kind of scenarios during the pathway and course of being in an organization, one of the critical areas that we get to where people ask us is, how should introverts actually handle scenarios that they're not very comfortable with, especially in the case of partying and more. In many organizations, young startups, sales-oriented organizations, etc., we find that there is a culture of going out in the evening, having liquor and drinks, so on and so forth. Whilst it's absolutely fine and it is an individual personal prerogative, there are youngsters or certain people who are not always comfortable in those kind of scenarios where artificial shieldedness are there. I would give certain pointers for professionals who are seeing this to understand and how to calibrate to ensure that they handle these situations appropriately. First and foremost, stay as to who you are. In those kind of scenarios where you find that you have your bosses coming together, you have your other colleagues coming together, and it's a party kind of environment, you will see that most individuals, they would like to imbibe themselves into a different kind of structure. For example, even if they do not know a specific subject, they would start talking about it. To praise their bosses or to satisfy an extra peg, or to just ensure that they are part of conversations, even if something that they don't know, they would like to still talk out, because it is perceived that if you are not really participating in the discussions or the content of whatever is been discussed, whether it's politics, whether it's cricket, whether it's other games, whether it's your organizational matters, whether it could be anything, then it's felt that that person is a loner. And there is where we find that amongst the group, everyone starts commenting on something. There is a sense of deep hollowness in the whole subject. Now, there is where I find that youngsters who are not really comfortable, there are two segments of that. One of them is that who feels, okay, let me also say something, because it's better to say something than just keeping mum, and they also start talking and they get into that race. There is a small section of people who feel that, no, I will be as to what I am. For example, if you do not know a subject, you don't need to comment about it. Or even if you feel that you know about it and your comment will not be respected, you need to hold on. You are not here in a popularity contest. You are not here to show that you know everything around the world. You don't need to. So it's very important that in this kind of parties, you stay as to who you are. Number one. Number two, if you feel that something you are not really comfortable with, but you cannot communicate that in the forum, you need to know how to hold on to yourself, your dignity, your ethics and values, and know the limits, and then move off from there. Whilst when I have crossed the journey of professional world in the last 20-25 years, I have seen it's easier said than done. But I have also seen that you need to know how to drive yourself. You do not and should not be driven by someone else. And this is important. So I still recollect in my earlier days of career in one of the organizations, one of my bosses, he used to force everyone to drink, irrespective of whether someone likes it or don't like it. And to that extent that it used to be obnoxiously incorrect. Even in those days, that was my second organization in my career. Even in those days, I was very, very clear as to what should be my level and till what I should go in the journey. And moment someone wants to, or there's a pressure to create and cross the borders, I used to know how to stop it. Now, I have crossed my journey from those days to where I am today, but at times it is not easy. So in those kind of scenarios, I strongly recommend, again, follow back on my first point, be who you are. And you need to stop the line of border. As what we say, no means no. Irrespective of whatever pressure that you get, if you have touched your limits, you need to stop it. Number 3, you will see that in common parties, common forums, etc., everyone starts commenting about everything as if everyone is like an encyclopedia. You don't need to do that. If you are not very sure of the data point, you don't need to give a hollow outflow of just a speech out. It is very important that you need to speak what is rational, what is appropriate, and what you feel should be spoken about. You just don't need to have large quantity talks. It have to be quality output, are just to ensure that they are engaged. Trust in me, I have learned that it have no value. And last 20-25 years have taught me that it actually have no value. You are who you are. If you practice these basics, you would clearly see that you would be way better and composed than anyone else. If not in the eyes of others, but in the eyes of yourself. And this would build a strong foundation of yourself, and this would also build a lot of inner peace and joy of yours.